Hey guys, welcome back to the Detour Live. We're into the final week of the 2021 Tour de France, and feels like it's already been going for about a month. But anyway, I'm your host.
What about
Dan
the riders?
Oh, mate, we're not even there. Joined, as always, by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow, the voice of cycling Phil Liggett, Olympic gold medalist and commentator Scott McGrory. Fellas, I'm pretty excited about this show because if the pre-show chat is anything to go by, it's going to be a spicy episode, Phil. Your ears still bleeding listening to Iffy and Scooter trying to get a word in.
I was just glad we hadn't started the podcast. Otherwise, nobody been watching ever again. It was wonderful. I was a bit late in this morning. I was just catching up on my notes, so I was observing rather than working.
Well, if you might as well open the batting, mate. What do you want to talk about? Because there's a few topics, but what gets under your grill?
Well, as you say, I mean, the main thing I want to talk about is the stage coming up, of course, but. There's just a couple of stories that popped up into cycling websites. One being the fact that Lucky Morton's already made it to Paris, so good on him. So we'll have a chat about that. Of course, a bit more on poor old Jack Haig not being able to make it to Tokyo and who's going to replace him. So that's been a bit of a topic. I don't think it's been announced as yet. But we might hear some inside stuff from Scotty McGrory, who's on the selection panel, more for the track than the road, but I'm sure he's got some input in here. But the other thing that got under my gate, got the one wood out, is the wages for women's cycling. We keep hearing lots of good stories about, the improvement, the big improvement. But there's a really in-depth story on Cycling Tips about just what's going on in women's cycling, especially in the Conti teams, where a lot of the women aren't getting paid at all. And I thought we might have a little chat about that.
Well, obviously,
that should take about 4 hours. That sounds good to me.
You've got nothing else to do, have you, Phil?
No, nothing at all.
Well, just quickly on that, I mean, Scooter, there have been announcements in the past 12 months of some of the World Tour teams that have said we're going to pay minimum prize money, the same as the men for the women. But when you start going down to Conti teams, and then you hear issues with even the broadcast, like the Giro d'Onor, the biggest race of the year, couldn't even sort out, race images at the finishes and all this sort of stuff. And so sponsors are wanting value. I mean, it's not an easy fix, this problem, Scooter.
No, it's not. And a lot of it comes down to basic money, but there's also just the basic respect that we all should be giving to any sport, male or female. And one of the things that has disappointed me in the past is how we often speak differently about the women's race. And you'll hear little comments like, surprisingly, the women's race was interesting. Well, what's you expecting it not to be? Now there are plenty of men's races that are really boring as well. One of the World Championship races that I commentated on, 2012 World Champs, the women's race was far more interesting than the men's. And of course, the last 10 kilometres of the men's race, super exciting, but the 240 kilometres before that, stuff all happened. And the women's race was really interesting in the last sort of 50, 60 Ks. So we've got to get past this expectation or, I guess the way we just describe and talk about the women's racing, just talk about what's happened, how it is, and they are the best in the business at what they do for their gender, and get past that. Now, financially, it's obviously a big challenge. The women's Giro is a complete joke in terms of the broadcast. And if you bring in a minimum wage, I do foresee that there'll be a lot of teams down the bottom level that won't be able to afford to continue and they'll fall off. But I think we just have to get through that pain to get to a level where it's much more sustainable. Now, there is something that's going to be happening. I can't say really anything about it, but I can tell you that I think halfway through next season, or by the end of next season, there will be some stuff that has happened that will really be a massive boost to women's cycling. So watch this space. So you have to wait another year and a half, but there is going to be something happening next year that will give women's cycling, road cycling, an incredible boost. It's something really worth looking forward to. So, and a lot of you guys know you've already seen something that's happened that's going to be similar to what's going to happen in women's cycling in another sport. And I think everybody's loved it and enjoyed seeing the behind the scenes of this other particular sport. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to see in women's cycling soon. So it's coming. It's going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit of pain before we get there.
If it was the Bay Critz's back around the hot dog circuit, I'll be disappointed, mate.
It's a natural amphitheatre there, like the banking for the spectators on the side of the hill in Geelong. It's a grandstand. It's made for cycling down there. But no, that's not it, John. Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Tomo wants to know, Phil, what are your ideas on whether the women should race on the same stage on the same day as the men, i.e. the new Women's Tour de France?
Well, the problem is the technical aspects of running two events at the same time, the manpower, the road closure length, the police services, the cost to the councils. And this is what they tried it, of course, as we know, in the 80s with the Women's Tour de France. So you were speaking with Trish, my wife, yesterday, and she worked on all of the women's tours in those days as masseur or manager. What it did, they tried to run it, starting the women. In those days, they weren't so long, the stages. The last 70 kilometres of the men's race course, the women started, and the schedule was to finish a good hour and a half before the men come in. But what they didn't allow for was all the journalists in those days that followed the Tour de France and the TV commentators had to get to the finish line on the same route. And we couldn't pass the women. The police stopped us going by the women's race. And I actually missed my commentary. They had to bring a commentator 100 miles, 160k from London, outside of London, into London, to do the commentary because I was still on the Col d'Ivoire and couldn't get to where the women, couldn't get round the women with Paul showing. So it became, over the 5 years, though, on the positive side, after the first year, because they were pretty chauvinistic, the French, in those days, and to have a women's tour was sort of off the roof. I remember after the first stage of the women's race, the papers were full of, they're not so bad. These are really good bike riders. The whole French attitude changed on that occasion. I think we ran 5 tours. It might be 4. I'm not too sure. 4 or 5 tours. But the logistics were its downfall. Nothing more than that. The Tour are now going to run the French race again. It'll start the day the Tour finishes. And we're back in with the women's Tour now. But I think 2 at the same time is pushing the odds. They do it on one-day races. The Tour de Flanders, Ghent-Wevelgem, and Paris-Roubaix, unfortunately, would have happened this year. It's been cancelled for the moment, but it might be on the same course in October when we run the men's race. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I've been watching all the women's races when they've been on television at home this year. I haven't been able to commentate because nobody wants to employ me to commentate on them. But I've seen, for me, I've seen some terrific women's races this year. Really look forward to them. 5 years ago, I didn't particularly look forward to turning the women on, even though I might have seen a good finish. But now I look forward to them. I'm familiar with all the names and the sponsors. It's just like the men's race. And they really do ride an attacking race. You can feel the aggression. So I'm 100% behind the changes and whatever comes along. And women's racing now is number 1 as far as I'm concerned.
It's been a long while since I've turned any women on, Phil.
Now that's a different story, John. I didn't say that.
You know what I love about you? Sometimes your radar is so far off, like your brain goes, I'll say this is going to be gold. And then when it comes out, it's just like...
it's not so bad. It's not bad as vinegar.
Well, hey, John, you organised the women's races that were always exciting. The women's races on the Bay Classics.
The first event in the world to give the same prize money for the men and women.
Yeah,
there you
absolutely.
go.
Always
exciting.
Is it true? Is that true, John? First cycling event?
Yeah. First cycling event.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
We've got a couple of comments. The Wheel Wizard, or the Weatherman, he said, I couldn't watch yesterday's show live, so I was surprised to win the prize from Let's Go Motorhomes. Thank you. But as I don't live in Oz...
Oh, there was a show, yes.
Yeah, you went on it. Well, we'll ask about what you got up to on your rest day anyway. But he said, as I don't live in Oz, been many times, could you give the prize to someone in Australia or do something with it for the Koreka Foundation? That's very nice.
That's very nice of him. But I spoke with the guys in it. Let's Go. No, we might probably do that anyway. But they are wrapped that someone overseas has won the award, and they're prepared to hang off, wait till it settles down, and he can come to Australia and look after him very, very well. So we might do both. We might offer a special little prize for Kaleka, but we'd like the Wheel Wizard to get out here when the pandemic settles down and take up the offer.
So he basically just has to spend about $8,000 to $10,000 to come out here for a holiday to get his $500.
That's
bonus.
right. That's right.
Good deal.
That's your problem, Scotty.
No. So you don't have to be as negative as that, Scotty. I know it's
I'm just being being factual, not negative.
No.
He's joking, John. It's called a joke.
If he never wants to come to Australia, fine. But he might be planning to come.
I'm sure he wants to. Yeah, he's been a few times, as he said.
To Australia. Yeah. He's probably my next door neighbour. I wonder where he lives. You must tell us where he lives. You must come clean where you live. You're probably my next door neighbour.
I think he's in Belgium.
Oh, Belgium. Oh, wow. That's almost my next door neighbour.
Andy Matthew says, nice to see 4 smiling faces on the show tonight. A bit of spice and discussion is always good. Samantha In says, a shame Armand Gundal Jensen isn't starting today, but not unexpected considering his injuries. Rest up, mate. Diane Hannum love that you're discussing this. Scott is so right, Ari. Perception of women's racing. And yes, it's a respect issue. And Will Wizard is just saying, I wasn't far out with the weather in Andorra. It's just the 200K to go to get there was very hot. Ian Thomas, I know, we posted that one. Annette said, with Jack Haig unable to compete at the Olympics, who do you think will replace Jack Haig in the Olympic road race team? You already mentioned that before, Ben O'Connor, but is there anyone else at the last minute that could be in the mix?
Well, look, I think so. Ben O'Connor is obviously the one that's on form at the moment, right? So, but he's not thinking about the Olympics. He wasn't in the mix for that. He's just trying to think about Sunday. So, I think he'll be given first option. But it might sound strange that he might turn that down. I'm not suggesting he will, but I could actually imagine that there's a situation where he does, simply because that's another week away. It's in Japan. You've got the COVID situation. Is he going to have to quarantine, getting there or coming back? has he been vaccinated or not? All these things that might come into play. So if that does and he doesn't do it, I wouldn't put it past Oz Cycling and Rory Sutherland, who is mainly the main man that's selecting the road team, to look at someone like Simon Clark, who's just been a real journeyman for the national team at World Championships and major events in the past. He could actually rest up these, possibly if his team lets him, take it a bit easier in these last couple of days to try and freshen up a little bit before going to Tokyo. I don't think that he's the next in line for it, but I could see a scenario where they do select someone that is just reliable, that could go there and just help Richie out as much as possible, really. So, we'll see. But Ben's obviously on form, the guy that should be the one that goes.
Actually, Dan, just one second. Another non-starter today, sadly, is Vincenzo Nibali, because he's going to the Olympic Games. And I think might be his last chance to get there. There's a reporter been sent over from here, because where I am here with Sky, they don't have the rights for the Olympics, but they send reporters. And the reporter who's gone 4 days ago, because they have to stay in a hotel for 10 days, quarantine, when they land, before they come out into the big world. And they're given a list of the restaurants they can eat in, and they can't go to any other restaurants. So there's a lot of restrictions. And I don't envy you making the call on this, your committee, Scott, because there are many problems outside of just selecting a rider for the Olympics right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the track team has been training in Brisbane, so they're based in Adelaide normally. They moved up to Brisbane 5 weeks ago or so, and they've been training on the Animators Velodrome up there. Last Saturday, they went into, so they've had their own kind of bubble happening, but from Saturday last week, they went into a very strict training bubble, so no access to anyone outside the group. I was actually planning on going in to see the team before they went into their bubble, and then we had the COVID situation spike up again here in Australia. So I didn't go to do that. But I know that they are putting themselves in their own very strict bubble now until they leave to go to Tokyo. The last thing anybody wants is for an athlete that, it doesn't matter if you're there to win or just participate, if you're one of the favourites or not, but to go all the way over there and have picked up COVID somewhere in transit or before you left and then not be able to compete, that would be disastrous. So I know the Aussie track team are certainly doing everything they can to protect themselves ahead of going across there.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, Phil. You obviously had a day off the detour yesterday, but it was all about the release of the documentary.
Dan,
how'd it
can you
go?
believe it? After I did all the press interviews and met some really nice journalists in England, because I talked more to Australian radio stations than the British ones. But the chap who interviewed me from BBC Radio Northampton yesterday, I was telling him, he said, I don't know a lot about the Tour de France, but I once watched it in 1974 when it was in Devon, the first time the Tour ever came to Britain. I said, oh, yes, I was the organiser. And I told him all about the Plimpton bypass, and we got on really famously. But the downside was about 5 o'clock last night, having done all the interviews, missed my favourite podcast. The agents rang me to say that the film has been postponed on its launch because of COVID. There's just nobody going to the cinemas. So they've withdrawn it from its release for the moment. This is the second time the release has been cancelled. But hey, what do the Aussies care? They've all seen it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a sensational movie too. Absolutely sensational.
I love it, but it's awfully sad that it's being delayed in my own country. But I feel as though, personally, the money came from Australia and the Aussie is my first love. So I'm glad.
So why is it they're not going to the cinema, and yet 100,000 of them went down to watch you lose a soccer match the other day?
They did. I'm not sure whether the cinemas are coming open. I think they're coming open, but there's nobody. They're getting no bookings to watch the shows. I mean, okay, we're bringing off all restrictions next Monday. All restrictions. Life is normal. Yeah, right. We're getting 38,000 cases a day at the moment, and about 4 to 5 are dying. That's all. It's nothing. We kill more than that one day down the pub. But on the other hand, that the way it's they're expecting now the number of cases to rise to over 100,000 a day once they allow mixing. So I'm sticking by the way I'm living now. I should put my mask on whenever I'm in public places, and I won't travel to places which is overcrowded. And I don't expect, sadly, to travel around the world too much either for a while to come. This isn't going away. That's for sure.
Phil, do you have the capability to do, like at home, to do some commentary? Have you got enough audio, AV equipment to be able to do that?
Only if it's via Zoom, actually, Scott, via Zoom, or we use Teams as well. Last night, for the first time ever, I did a little Instagram with Doug Ryder from the Quebec team and the guys behind the squad who are getting all these bikes for the kids in South Africa, and I did a nice chat there. And and what I've done with you, this, funnily enough, I do have a sound guy. He's got a total studio who lives next door to me in England, and he was always available. I've made commercials in there with him, but for something as high tech as this, you need a lot of facilities. So for the Olympics, when I join Scotty just a week from now, I'll be talking to Scotty, Sydney, I believe, Scotty, and I'll be just literally 4 kilometers away from where I am right now in the studio. The drawback, I go to work 11 o'clock at night and I go home at 7 in the morning. Not too looking forward to that.
Well, do you know, Phil, I'm not sure if the guys explained it. So it's Melbourne. Anna Mears and I will be in Melbourne.
Oh, you're in Melbourne, sorry.
Yeah. So when we did our test, it was in Sydney because they didn't have, so that company, it's Gravity Media, they've got their studio set up in Sydney, but it's all being done out of Melbourne. So they've had to build a studio in Melbourne for the games, and that wasn't ready to do our test before when we did that. Was that 5-6 weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But what they are doing is, so when I don't know if it's explained to you, they told it to me on the night we did it. So when they send the video that I get to see typically would be instant. But then sending that video to you for you to watch would be 24 frames a second behind. So you'd see basically about a second behind what I see. So they don't want that to happen. So they want the footage to match up. So they delay the footage to Anna and I by 24 frames so that we're seeing the same thing at the same time. But when you commentate and it gets sent to us, it's 14 frames a second delayed. So if they left the footage the same, then there would be almost a second and a half delay in our in your voice getting back to us, which would be just stumbling over the top of each other. So they've tried to minimise that as much as possible. Quite technical what's going into it, but
I'm confused. I am confused.
I was going to say, the detour's been great practice for all that then, Scooter.
It's been unbelievable. Yeah. But the only drawback is there's been no delay from John coming to me. I've heard him immediately, see.
Yeah.
And all of it hasn't been muted.
You need me involved. I can just talk over the top of everybody.
Absolutely. They would never notice the delay.
Skull reckons double rates for nice shift.
Hey,
Phil.
Alan, I love you, mate. Thank you. I never thought of that, Scotty. Why didn't I mention that?
Yeah.
Actually, because I'm in London, they cut the contract in half. But there you are. That's life.
Hey, fellas, we're into the last week of the tour. So what I thought we could do, if you want, is stream through some of the stage profiles. This is obviously stage 16. We gave it a bit of a mention yesterday. But, Scotty, do you want to open up the batting and just give us your quick thoughts on, obviously, the profiles? But looking into the crystal ball as part of the video description, I was just looking for angles, We'll try and make them, just try and make some predictions for this last week.
Yeah, sure. Look, mate, as we heard from Sam Bewley last night, this downhill start, everyone's been talking about that. It'll be attack, 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 as it always is in a Tour de France stage. But typically nothing will go because it's so fast and very difficult for any breakaways to stick on a downhill. Everyone is strong and feeling fresh when it goes downhill from the start. It should be all together until they get to the first Cat 2. That's definitely when it will split. The question is how far it is from the last Cat 2 to the finish line. It's still a fair way. Okay, it's a reasonably short stage at 170 Ks. 7% gradient over 5.5 Ks. Is that something that's really going to test the GC guys? Probably not. So this kind of might be more of a stage for a breakaway, but also just something that deaden the legs a little bit. It might be a test for maybe guys with a little bit 14th, 15th, 12th on GC to try and get up the road and get some time back. I don't see this as a big test for the GC guys, though. What do you guys think?
I'm the same as you, Scott. Yeah, because the race starts right on the border. Pas de la Casse is the border post, I think. I've never been there, but it's the border with France. So we literally start the race back in France through the beautiful Ariège, which we've been in a few days this year. And the Col de Port is a nasty little climb as a rule, but they're going to hit it feeling fresh. I think this is the day that Cavendish will get through without too much bother. We don't forget Edvald Bosenhagen was eliminated as we went into the rest day, too far behind by himself. Through the sprint, I don't think Cal will be there for that sprint, but then we're on to that first category climb there, which is the Col de Cour, I think, isn't it? The Col de la Cour. That's a nice little sharp climb, that one. And then we go over the Porte d'Aspet. It's just a great undulating ride. I love Saint-Gaudens. It's in a fabulous part of the valley, and it races right. If you continue straight down this valley, you come into Spain. It's usually packed with traffic, but the Tour de France, both sides of the road in Saint-Gaudens is just mountains. It's stunningly lovely. And so the little hill just before the end could decide any final runs for the line. It could be a great stage for Valverde today. He came close 2 days ago. And he said he backed off chasing Seb Kuss because, 41, I think you think that you might just overcook it on the descent and die. And he's too old for that. So he did. No, he did.
Never too old to die, Phil.
Well, that is also, don't ask me, Scotty. And so Valverde just desisted. He was clear of the break. He couldn't quite bridge 20 other seconds to Sepp. And so he settled for second. Well, that comes with age and maturity, I think. But today, I'd love to see Valverde win today. I don't think there'll be a change in the GC today. I think you're right.
I agree.
All right.
I think we'll be a breakaway today.
Stage 17, open the batting, Iffy.
Now we're getting into the bike race now. Well, 17 and 18 will decide. It does. But when you looked at this race before the tour started, it almost looked like a race in three parts, and that's how it's been. The first week was sprints and exciting and crashes. Well, we certainly got that. It's been fantastic. 3 separate parts, but the finale to this was always going to be these 2 stages because they one on top of the other. There's only been 3 summit finishes this whole Tour de France, so which is unusual and a bit disappointing, I thought. But these are 2 monster days. You won't see any just farting around. There'll be real attacks, and the GC is going to get turned around. It's not going to get turned around. There's no one coming from outside the top 10 to move in, but that top 6 places will turn right around. But it won't turn around for that bloke on the old Pog. I think he's going to still be there.
This is the showdown on this stage for sure.
And just go back to that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. So the other thing for us, from an Australian perspective, is this is where Phil Anderson took the yellow jersey for the first time, the first non-European to wear the yellow jersey on this final climb. So yeah, a bit of significance. It would be very romantic to think that Ben O'Connor could perhaps win and take the yellow jersey on this day because Phil did it back in 1981. That's not going to happen, but it would be romantic to think it.
Scott, was it?
Yeah, St. Laurie-Salon, Col de Portet.
St. Laurie-Salon. Well, when you go to St. Laurie-Salon is a little town at the bottom, and the Col de Portet goes one side, and I can't think of the name of the other. I think.
How about the Plat de Day? Does that work?
The Plat de Day. That's where Phil got it. So it's actually right next door.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because we very rarely use this one. We very rarely use the Col de Portet out of the St. Laurie-Salon as a finish. But the Plat de Day is the other climb, much harder, I think.
Yeah.
Well, this is where the terrorists blew my car up,
Yeah, someone asked about that. Someone asked a comment about how did Phil. Hey, here you go, Free Ranger. Phil, what were your thoughts when your car was blown up in Spain?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Free Ranger. It was in fact in '92. They did make a mess. They blew 7 cars up, but mine was the first, and it was literally shoveled onto a flatbed trailer. It was about 2 meters square because the cars modern times are all plastic, just melted. But the great news was Paul Sherwin CDs were in the trunk at the time, and they all melted, and I hated them. It was the only bonus of the whole situation. We lost Paul Sherwin's 50 CDs, which he played all day long when we were in the car. And
what were they? Can you remember?
On the race.
Can you remember some of the bands?
No, but I was so glad they were gone. Yeah.
Billy Ray Cyrus, 92.
Always a positive.
I have blown a couple of cars up the Tour de France myself, but anyway, that's not the story.
Yeah. Diesel and a petrol. We know all about that. Stage 18. This is a shorter one. I love the look of this, boys. Finishing Les Ardennes and the 2 HC climbs, but 129.7 Ks. That gets me excited, Phil. Short and sharp.
Yeah, Les Ardennes, or Les Ardennes, whichever part of France you come from, is I thought we'd never climb this hill again because it was only about 7 years ago when the organisation said we're going to lose some of the big famous mountain finishes unless we alter how we cover the Tour de France because there's no room to park on the top of Les Ardennes now, all the technical equipment required for the Tour de France. But there it is. It's back. It's a fabulous climb. We're back in I think it was 1990. Claudio Chiappucci was on the climb ahead of Greg LeMond, came off the other climb at high speed and caught Chiappucci for a lot of time. Greg always called Chiappucci Cappuccino, and he said, that guy Cappuccino, he said, I'm going to get him. And he did. He caught him on this climb up to Les Ardennes. It was a great battle, and Greg, as we know, won the Tour in 1990 and 89. So these are really hard stages, but the hills are late. So for somebody like Mark Cavendish, there's a good chance he'll beat the time limit and live to fight on Friday and Sunday.
Unless he gets spat at that first Cat 4, he could be in big trouble.
Well, that's a very good observation. That yes, it's a long way to the finish.
Well, even the hill just before that as well, 6 Ks in, there was one just before the Cat 4. So we missed the Col de Tourmalet. Don't forget, look how long. They're only saying it's 17 Ks, but there's a long valley lead up to get to the bottom of it.
I'm sure this was the same finish that Greg caught Cappuccino on. They came off the Col de Tourmalet chasing it. Yeah. Did I say Cappuccino? Oh God!
Yeah, he did.
That is a really tough stage. The Tourmalet is an absolutely monstrous climb, fantastic climb. One of the climbs that is always in the tour. There's only a handful of climbs that are virtually there every year, and the Tourmalet is one. Matter of fact, I can't remember many years it hasn't been there. Wonderful. Occasionally has a finish, but normally it's the entree to the final stage. And those two together, it's the last chance, the last hurrah for a lot of people. So I think it's just going to be a stage for a Pyrenees party. There'll be a few of them.
We can fly through this because we're starting to waffle a bit. Cavill wins stage 19. Pog will smash the time trial and win the tour, and Cavill win in Paris. So there you go.
I don't reckon Cavill wins stage 19. I don't think they're going. I think they'll let a break go because I think they want to have the big finale on the Champs-Elysees. I think if we let it go, save it all for Paris.
Could you imagine?
No, but that's the story. Just let me finish. If they don't go for that stage 19 and they save it all for there, so it'll be huge expectation. And if he doesn't get it, I got to come back next year to get the record. Either way, he's a winner.
That is ridiculous, John. As if they're going to go, you know what, throw it away because we reckon we're going to absolutely piss it in Paris.
I agree with you, John, that I don't think Cav will win, but your reasoning, I think, might be a bit off there. I don't think anybody has thrown it all away. I was just looking, that's why I stopped. I thought you might like to see this. This is the number of times that the riders have actually climbed the Tourmalet. It started in 1910. Right, you see all this writing here. That's how many times they've climbed the top. I can't work this out. Well, gosh.
That's right.
You see beside the camera I normally work, can't you? You see all of those every year there, and right from 1910.
Sensational.
That piece in 1910.
This is exciting. It's exciting.
I'm glad I found that now.
So what is this? But tell us what it says, Phil. How many times have they climbed it?
Well, that's it. That's why I looked at it, and they don't list it anymore. They used to have a bracket saying, well, if you've got another hour, Dan, I can count up the years, but I can confirm it started when we first went into the mountains, which was in 1910. It was on the original route, and on that occasion, when we went into the mountains in 1910, they used the Porte d'Aspet and the famous names. I can't think of these now. So famous. They called it the Circle of the Dead Men. And I'll tell you another story. When I was working with ESPN and Casatelli got killed on the descent of the Porte d'Aspet, I'd already pre-recorded my opening for ESPN, and I'd pointed out this is the first time this hill was used. It was 1910. The rider said it was so hard. They were murderers. The organisers were murderers, etc. And that they nicknamed this race the Circle of the Dead Men because they're all saying they couldn't get round this route. And of course, later in the day, Casatelli was killed on one of the climbs. So you won't believe the panic to get that tape, which I'd opened the tour story with, off air before it went out. I had to completely record the opening. They were horrible days. And Richard Virenque was the winner that day. And they didn't tell him till he finished at Cotteret on a mountain that Casatelli had died on the route because he just would have collapsed in tears. So they didn't tell him at all till he finished the race. Yeah.
Tragic.
Oh, yeah. It was terrible because he was a really nice guy too.
Well, okay, Trump, we've got to lift it back up again now. So back to your point, John.
All you've got to do is ask John a question. That'll lift it back up. Be fine.
Yeah. Look, I think that your scenario, John, is a far better movie. Like that makes by far a better movie. Yeah. But I think in reality, I think they're not going to risk it. It'd be incredible if they did. If they actually did come out with that tactic, mate, that would be amazing that they would risk that. Although they could be feeling so incredibly confident because the other guys haven't been anywhere near him. The fastest guys that started the race are no longer here. And he can only beat who's left. And
they can win both.
Quicker, isn't he?
They can win both. No worries.
Yeah. So 36 for the record.
They can.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you see, Wigo was at the last stage as well. Saw some footage of Cav catching up with Wigo, giving him a big hug and all that stuff. Obviously trying to keep in good with Wigo because Brad does look as if he's become a bit of a London gangster. So he wants to make sure he's in with that crowd as well, just in case things go wrong. He needs to get someone to fix a few problems for him.
It also shows that Cav Scott forgave him for not riding with him properly in the Madison in 2004 in Athens, because everybody else won medals on the team except Cav. Because when I said to Cav, I'm sorry you didn't make it, Mark, in the Madison. Hey, there was nothing wrong with me. I was going great. But he never said it was Wiggins that was riding rubbish. But Wiggins had gone off. He'd won 3 gold medals. He'd gone off, and they should have taken Wiggins out and put somebody like Geraint Thomas in to ride with Cav, because Cav was fuming. So they must have forgiven him, eh? I must run that story.
That's right.
There you go.
Spice it up again. Get it going. Get that hatred happening again. No, they're certainly good mates now, that's for sure.
That's fine.
Phil,
I just looked up. I just looked up Tourmalet in the Tour de France, and
yes,
I can tell you,
go on.
There's hardly a year it's missed out. It's been in about 50 or 60 times. So there you go.
Well,
you told us nothing. We knew it was in heaps of time.
Certainly, we climbed it twice. Well, I thought you were going to give me the figure.
I was hoping to, but no,
it's not there, is it?
Yeah. What was the point of that, John?
But don't worry, John. I'm going to count it shortly. When I leave you guys, I'm going to count the number of winners. So I got it for the studio.
All right, Phil, we better let you get back to work.
ZA/Peloton. Well done, Dan. Trish loved being with you guys yesterday. I can't understand it, but she was on a high after she came off the podcast yesterday. I had to go out and do the garden because I couldn't stand any more of how good she was and how tough I was.
Andy Matthews says top 6 with the bookmakers today: Van Aert, Alaphilippe, Aaron Burr, Fraley, Court, and Mohoric. Who do you like out of that?
Well,
group,
I've actually gone for Mohoric. We have a competition, on TV. But Adam Blythe came back. He was second today. He's gone for Van Aert. The others haven't seen who they've gone for yet. You see, everybody is not going for Pogacar. Pogacar's going to ride his style of riding. He'll use his team as long as he can. And once they're getting near the end, he'll be probably on his own, but he'll just marshal them when he needs to marshal. So there will be not a surprise winner, but a guy who takes his opportunities well, who wins today.
I like Van Aert and Alaphilippe. They're my two. Van Aert first.
What can you say? This guy can do anything. He can do absolutely anything. Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, Phil, we better let you go, mate. Get back to work on that brand new big screen.
Can I put a question to you, Phil? The rest day, did NBC do anything at all for the rest day? They do a show or some sort of thing? What they up to?
Even when we're on the tour, they've always had the principle that everybody must have the day off. So throughout the build-up towards the rest day, the host commentator, our commentary is already laid. They build a picture for the rest day of a whole program, and all he does is put the alone welcomes on the top the night before. But we always have the day off on the rest day, but they do run quite a big show, bringing you all up to date with the story so far. So there was a show yesterday, but we had our day off. Well, they called it a day off. I couldn't cut the grass again; it rained, and I was on the radio for most of it, and I actually finished work at 7:30 last night, and then it was too late to go out, so we had just a dinner, and I was in bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Is it still dramatic? Do they still do the big dramatic, like the Americans love the drama and the big voiceover? I remember as a kid, we used to get it on, it was 9 Wild Water Sports here in Australia, a week delayed coverage of the tour, and it was John Tesh used to do the VO for it, and it was always about the drama and overcoming obstacles.
John Tesh was my mate. He lives in California, has his own radio program. He married Connie Selleck, who was a great tennis player. Apparently, I'd never heard of her, but she's a nice girl. John and I used to work through the night, every Friday night during the tour. It was a very interesting coverage, and they won lots of Emmys. What happens with CBS came with the idea they were going to make a Saturday or a Sunday film for CBS, and they took a whole week to make it. They had the most expensive hotel, the Georges V, at the top end of the Champs-Élysées. They never left that base. They flew me back every 6 days by helicopter from wherever I was in France and got me back to the race for the next morning because I worked for British TV. And I worked 24/7 at weekends. It was not very pleasant, but the shows were sensational. And they used to say to me, We don't care who won the stage. In America, nobody's ever heard of Valterio Nibali. Yeah, don't need him. So I said, okay. So build a story on the guy who's winning the race. Let's see how he lives. And of course, they were lucky with Greg LeMond and all those in those days. And so that's what they did. And the shows are so popular. But they have money. I mean, they would spend $80,000 just making the opening to the show, where they'd be in the battlegrounds of northern France. I'd be carried over the mud to be put in a pillbox in the middle of a field, and then they would explode the picture, and I'd be walking a cobbled street in Belgium. It was unbelievable, the money they spent and the time it took to build those profiles. But I remember the manager of the hotel, when I flew up at night, I used to get up there about 11 o'clock at night in the helicopter, and I would go in the hotel to check and go, wow, this is a place. It's one of those very expensive hotels where you opened your door, and all you got at the door were the steps going up to your room. No, there was no entry point, steps at the door. And the doors didn't have numbers, they had names. I thought, this is going to be expensive. Anyway, it was a fabulous place. But the boys, the manager came to me one day and he said, Mr. Lee, he said, is there a problem with the hotel? I said, what do you mean? It's a fabulous hotel. Yes, he said, but all your friends outside in the big truck, they never sleep here. Because they never had time to sleep. They slept on the floor of the truck building those films. Plus, we do bring out some good stories in
I love your stories, Phil.
After NBC paid you $80,000 just to do the opener, how much did they actually spend on the opener?
Oh, about $8 or $9. It was quite
just before you go, Phil, Dan, I don't know if you've got that thing on the Australian Cycling Champions book, but I wanted to Phil to see part of that. If you've got it there.
I didn't queue those photos up. So
good on you.
I didn't. Can we talk about it tomorrow?
Yes,
okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we can talk about it tomorrow. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
No, we've seen it now. That's great. That's great photos.
The photo of you with hair, Scotty. That's what I wanted Phil to see. You probably.
Oh, really?
I know
I've got some
feeling.
there. I just cut it
I know
off.
the feeling, Scott. I know the feeling.
There you go.
There he is.
That, yeah.
There he is.
Who is it? Who is it?
It's Scotty.
It was lovely flowing hair too.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do it tomorrow because it's a nice book. Warren wrote a really nice book on Australian Cycling Champions, right up the history. Yeah, and I'll send you a copy of it. But we'll do it tomorrow. All good.
I've got to train you up on how to actually do some work, John. It'd help out a lot because there's a lot of it's constantly. Oh, mate, we'll get it sorted.
Go now. I'm overrunning now.
Phil.
And
you want me? I get the guests. I get the sponsors. I do all the hard work anyway. You just do the money.
Yeah. Yeah, you be careful, Dan. He could sack you. You'd be very good at doing the technical things, John. He'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think Dan agrees.
I'd like to enjoy the last episode of the Detour, folks.
And I'm going.
Okay, no worries. Good day, Phil.
All the best, guys.
Hey, Phil.
Thanks, mate.
5 more days to go after this one. Look forward to it. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good on you, mate.
See you, Phil. Good on your pal.
Hey, Johnny, can you do that? Can you just lean back in your chair again and put your hands up as you did before? No, bring them down a little bit. But up just a little bit like that. Lean back.
Scarface.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking Don Corleone. Yeah, it's the Don.
All right. We'd like to introduce an ad break now from sponsors that have been sourced by John Trevorrow, managed by John Trevorrow. It's all thanks to John Trevorrow. That's, of course, Let's Go Motorhomes with Bike Exchange. Well done, John.
You started it.
Here we go.
We all love an open road, and often they're easier to find during quieter times of the year. In a Let's Go motorhome or camper van, you can road trip in comfort and style any time of the year. When the roads are quiet, you can get where you want quicker and easier without jostling for position. Chances are your destination won't be as busy too, which means you'll enjoy your travelling adventure even more. Plus, if you book a Let's Go motorhome or camper van in the off-season, you pay less, meaning you can travel longer. There's a type of motorhome or camper van for everyone, so you won't have to compromise on what you want. The whole range has the things you need to help create the perfect road trip experience, including heating and cooling, keeping you comfortable on the road all the time. Whether there's 2 or 6 of you, there's a motorhome for everyone. And in a Let's Go Motorhome, your journey can be just as fun as the destination you want to reach. The open road is calling. Check out some of our great offers online today and start planning your next road trip. Rain, hail, or shine.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our sponsors, Let's Go Motorhomes and Bike Exchange. Now, Carolyn Harbeck, I think she's worried. She goes, play nice, boys. This is what we do. You should have seen the Barneys we used to have on the road at the Tour de France. This is nothing.
Don't talk about the butter knife. Do not mention the butter knife.
Yeah, that's right. Dale wants to know, what's the Michelin 4x4 worth these days, Johnny?
The Michelin 4x4.
With the artwork on it. The Indigenous artwork.
Yeah.
It's up to a couple of mil, wasn't it?
Yes, that's very true. Yep. Well, I think it's sold. I was up there the other day. I couldn't find it, so I think it's gone.
Free Ranger, if his favourite chips, salt and vinegar.
Very good.
I know Ben O'Connor.
So it's much better to say vinegar chips.
Yeah, vinegar chips. That's right. Sorry, you got cut off again, Scotty.
That's right, mate. We just Ben O'Connor. Remember, we heard the stories about the first time he went and raced outside of Perth or outside of Australia. The National Road Series went to the Qinghai Lake Tour in China, which is I've raced it myself. It's all at altitude. So I think the first day started at 1,800 meters. That was a flattish circuit course. The second day went up onto the Qinghai Lake Plateau, and that's all above like 2,500 meters. And they go up to 4,000 on some of the climbs, or just over 4,000 meters. Brutally hard just because of the high altitude.
4,000 meters? Really?
Yeah, crazy. Really tough. And what was really interesting around the lake itself, so the lake, hills up, or mountains all around the side of the lake. So you go off the side, up over a climb, back onto the lake again, and racing above 2,500 meters to 3,000 meters around the lake. And me being a stronger sort of track-based rider, it'd start to string out with a slight cross breeze. There wasn't a lot of wind, but it was a bit of a breeze, and it'd start to string out. And that's when I'm in my element. And then the guys in front would lose the wheel, and you think, oh, geez, we're not even going that hard. So you go to close the gap, but because of the lack of oxygen, it's sort of like a time bomb: 3, 2, 1, and then you just blow up yourself. So it's a really, really challenging environment. And Ben did really well, That race is on at the moment. So they're 3 days into that tour, 8-stage tour. Obviously, it's lost all of its luster because there's no one travelling, nothing happening. And it has been a really good showcase for international riders at that second level, as Ben was back then. But this time, there are 17 teams in it, all Chinese. There's not one international rider in that race at all. So, that's just going to disappear. That'll disappear this year, and no one will even know and identify any class talent coming through that one, unfortunately.
Wasn't there good prize money at that race? Like, I heard stories of Swannies literally stuffing thousands of US dollars into their bag heading back in the chop up. Like, it used to be like 15 stages or something, didn't they? And they were like,
yeah. It was like, they used to call it like the fourth Grand Tour. Sorry, mate. They used to call it like the fourth Grand Tour because it was 2 weeks long, all at high altitude, good money. I remember I felt really perplexed at one stage because the year I rode it, we stayed right out the back of the lake somewhere. There's nothing out there. We're talking the middle of China. And we stayed in this hotel that was still unfinished. There was nothing else around. Like the town that it was in was very, very small. It almost just looked like sort of market area, maybe for the farmers in the region. And I looked out the back window and noticed that there was a few tents out there. And I asked one of the managers of the hotel, who are they? What are they doing? He said, well, they're the workers that are building this hotel because it's still not finished. I'm like, well, what's the tourism industry like here? Why is this hotel being built? He said, well, it's just for you. I said, what do you mean just for us? I said, well, yeah, when the race was announced it was coming here, then they started to build the hotel. And that was it. And I thought, hang on, they've got nothing here. And we come in and do this bike race with our Western values and our Western equipment, and the workers are staying out, in these tents building this hotel just to make us feel good and look good, or make them look good to us, when they're all in poverty. And this is a place that's minus 30, 40 degrees in winter. And these guys have been out staying in tents building the hotel. It was quite perplexing. It made me feel really uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure.
Pretty intense.
I've sent the link to Matt White, but I haven't got the double blue tick, Siffy, which says he could be in some bad service areas.
No, well, he did tell me that he was going to try and do it on someone else's phone because they were on it wasn't working.
Right.
So it looks like we've lost him.
We'll try and get him tomorrow. We're pretty much ready to wrap things up anyway.
What's his love for? Like, it took me a long time to get rid of my BlackBerry. I had a couple, and everyone went to iPhones or Samsungs or whatever. And I really did like that feel of the buttons.
That's it.
But it
what
wasn't
else do
until
they
I
offer?
Well, nothing anymore. But I didn't realise it's still actually a company that exists. So what is it with Whitey? Why is he still sticking with it?
Well, he has got an iPhone as well, but problem up there is in Andorra, it's a different network, and he wasn't connected with that network or something. So,
and it's really expensive once you flick over, and if you get caught on the wrong one and you don't have like a partnership sort of deal, I've heard horror stories. The guy's just been there for 2 days and getting stung like €1,000 and stuff. So, got to be careful. For sure.
The telecommunications industry, it's a rort. Sandy and the crew can tell us, and Diane, they can tell us how much of a rort it is. But we won't mention names. But it's flick a switch, isn't it? That's it. It's all they have to do when you cross the border.
Final tips for stage 16, fellas. Who's going to win?
Wout van Aert for me.
Van Aert. Yep.
Yeah, look, remember we said in the second week that once we get deeper into the race, it's the usual suspects that keep getting into the breaks, with a few exceptions, but because they are just the guys that are getting through the race better than everybody else. And Wout has shown that he's up for it every time there's a break that suits him. He's in it, so hard to go past Wout van Aert.
Yep.
And I look forward to those climbs because it'd be Wout and Wout, because the other Wout will be up there going for the King of the Mountains. So it'd be Wout versus Wout, I reckon, because
Poles and Art.
Poles and Art, yes.
Yeah.
Blue poles, fine art. But
it'll be a woot for Wout, won't it, John?
And then you got the battle behind with the pog and vinegar chips.
Exactly.
Mick Jagger, don't worry, Mick Jagger will be doing his dance as well.
That's right. It's all happening.
Hey, your voice is back too. Does that mean that you get the act out?
Yeah. Coming out.
Keep putting your requests in, guys. I think it'll be a 5-song medley, just a couple of bars of each. All right.
Yep.
All right, as we always say, keep supporting the show. Keep telling your mates. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. We'll guarantee that tomorrow we'll keep it spicy.
And we have a big announcement for tomorrow. The Cookie Monster.
Oh, Baden Cook, who's on Australian Survivor.
Yeah, we've got Cookie on tomorrow. So that would be great.
Isn't it interesting when you've got an interest? Sorry, Danny. When you've got some interest in things like I don't care about, don't watch it, don't. But now Cookie's on it. It's like, oh yeah, cool. He's a mate. I want to watch this. See how he goes.
Yeah.
This will be great.
It will be good.
But how did he? It's brains versus brawn, and he's on the brains team. Like I can't believe that.
Ask that to his face tomorrow. That's what I suggest.
We will.
Right.
Hey, can I just have a shout out to my mum? Because I think my sister Jenny said that she was going to fire it up so Mum could watch. She likes seeing her boy, her youngest, her baby, on anything. So I don't look like a baby anymore. But hi Mum.
Well, if you had to give me enough notice, I could have queued up that photo again.
Which one? From the games. Yeah.
All right.
Tomorrow night. Mum will have to watch again tomorrow night.
Yeah.
There you go, Mum. That's just for you. All right.
So I try to nick myself with the medal. What was I thinking?
All right. See you tomorrow night with the Cookie Monster. Stay tuned. Take it easy.
This is the winning